Okay, so by a show of hands, how many of you have ever heard of or used the tool Gauge R&R? Okay, good. All right, so the first time I used this tool, I was a quality manager, well, a new quality manager at a porous plastics manufacturer down south in Atlanta. My first day of work, after the welcome a day, it's really great to have you. I was called into the office, kind of like this, by the president, and it had a bunch of people. And we had shut our customer down. One of our largest customers was J&J. You all know who J&J is? We made a small part. It was a battery vent. You know what a battery vent is? Okay, it's a little porous plastic part, looks like this, about half an inch in diameter, and it's used to vent batteries. Otherwise, it explodes. So J&J required a CPK of 1.33 to ship lots of products, and we just couldn't make it. So I go to this go-to tool. This was the first time I ever used a Gauge R&R tool. And what I found during our investigation was different operators measured in different ways. Some people would take that little round part, look for the highest point. It wasn't totally concentric. And they would look for the highest or the lowest point, make a measurement. Other people would squeeze the jaw of the caliper so hard, and then they would take a measurement. They were being careful. And other people would let that part barely hang, between the jaws of the caliper, and then they would take a measurement. So as you can imagine, the gauge on our result was phenomenally bad. It was 98%. 98%. What does that mean? It means that if the true value of a part is 2 inches, okay, we know that for a fact, your gauge could tell you that it's reading 1 inch, 2 inch, or 4 inches on the exact same part. If the math is wrong, just forget about it. Okay. Anywho, after much ado, running around, shutting the customer down, paying a lot of money, we found out that the parts had no problem, the process had no issues, but we had effectively shut the customer down. My name is Ade. I'm a project manager with the Georgia MEP. I'm an industrial engineer by training. I'm a Six Sigma Master Black Belt and an all-time expert at quality tools. So today I will be discussing how to ensure that our inspection systems and our gauging systems give us a window, an eye, a true window into what's really happening with the process. So we're going to cover three things. Why is calibration not enough? Two, how to set up a gauge R&R study, and three, how to interpret the results. Okay, so number one, why is calibration not enough? I have many clients that would tell me, well, I don't need gauge R&R because I calibrate my tools. I do it every 6 months. Calibration addresses a different issue. It addresses the issue of accuracy, all right? It tells you whether there's a bias in the gauge, whether you're having linearity issues, stability issues, and so on and so on. Dot, dot, dot. So now we know why calibration is not enough. Okay, it is a showstopper. So calibration is good. It addresses 50% of our issues. And before you start a gauge study, you want to make sure that you're using calibrated gauges. Number two, how do you do a study? Most studies are the standard study is 10 by 3 by 2, meaning that you take 10 parts randomly from the process. You inspect, you get 3 operators who would inspect the part 3 different times, and we collect this data, and then we're ready to go. All right, so we're ready. Number three, we would pick an SPC package. Please, for goodness sake, do not create something. There are lots of packages out there. They are templates for Gauge R&R. Once you buy one that's validated, you simply insert this information into it and it spits you out something. Okay. Oh, I did forget. Number four, we have to show you how to interpret the results. Okay, that's 4. So there are certain metrics and statistics that we look at. Please look up at the board. Dot, dot, dot. Okay. Now that we are all experts at doing Gauge R&R and we understand why it is important, we understand why calibration is not enough, we now know how to do a gauge study and how to interpret our results. We are ready to go. So, any questions, room? Those are fantastic questions. Um, statisticians tell us that 80% of the measures that we make in any organization fail in one way or the other. Now we understand why some of that happens. So what I'm going to leave you with is, as you go back to your offices, back to your sites today, walk away with the concept that Gage R&R is a showstopper. Okay? Yes.